Was I going to stop riding my bike? I rode my bike the whole friggin' war. I never was off my bike. I was riding from Ventura to LA. I'd come get off work. I didn't just take the car because it looked like there was going to be a problem. If I was in my car, it's because I probably had something in the trunk that I couldn't carry on my bike. I got stopped in Long Beach one night. The trunk was full of weapons. He pulled me over. Jesse and I were in the car. We had guns in the trunk. We were looking for Mongols in Long Beach. And this is what we do. They'd go out and hunt us down, and we go out and hunt them down. That was just the nature of the beast. So I had my wife, Cheryl's car. It was registered in her name. She had I don't know if anybody will even remember this, a Cougar. That was the name of the car, and had the lights that when you put those blinker on, it go blink, blink, blink across the back, which uh, really excited my wife. She thought that was cool. So she got a Cougar. Daddy was fighting the war. His wife gets a Cougar. That was to help placate her, because I was gone a lot, man. She was reading about all this shit in the papers and on the news, and I wouldn't talk about it with her. And so I was trying to make her happy, trying to keep peace in the Hells Angels, stake my claim out. And I was trying to keep peace at home. I had 2 kids. So I'm down in Long Beach, and I get pulled over by the cops. And Jesse's looking at me, and I'm looking at Jesse like, Jesse was my ace deuce guy. That's my go-to guy. When we went out, I trusted him. I'd go out and take care of business with him. And we looked at each other like, fuck, man. We could have had guns with silencers in them. I don't remember. I know there were guns in the trunk. What's in there? I mean, who remembers that many years ago? But all I had was the ignition key. I had taken the trunk key and hidden it in the car. So the guy pulls me over. What are you doing down here? So what do I got to do? I got to think on my feet. I show him my government ID. I make sure he sees my Department of Defense ID. He goes, "Oh, you work for the DOD," and I go, "Yeah." He goes, "You down there, the Navy Yard? There's a Navy Yard down there." I go, "Look, man, I'm not going to bullshit you. I go, I'll tell you what I'm doing down there." I said, "I got a mistress down here," and he he identifies with that, and his male ego identifies with that. I go, "Look, man," I go, "if you write me a fucking ticket," I go, "I'm going to have a real rough time explaining this to the wife at home." And he goes, "Okay, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to run you." They didn't know who I was back then. "I'm going to run you. I'm going to take a look in your trunk. And then you're going to be on your way if you come back clean." I said, "No problem." And so I hand him the keys, and I knew the trunk key wasn't on there. And he goes back there, and he says, "This no trunk key." What do? I play on this guy's emotions again. I go, "That fucking bitch. She took the goddamn trunk key." And I just go, "Man, she knows I got a girlfriend down there. She probably thinks that's where I'm at. That's why you can't give me a ticket." And he goes, "Get the fuck out of here, man." And, Jesse and I get back in the car, and we're like looking at each other like, who in the hell's watching over us, man? And, Jesse's the guy I talked about earlier. I went and got the bomb with. But, that's what it's like living in a war. It's like you go out to your car in the morning, and do you look under it? I had a routine. I got under the car every morning, popped the hood, and looked for wires that didn't belong. I mean, it's easy to hide that dynamite, but the wires to, and then some of the guys started getting smart. They were using remote control shit. But that's what it's like living in a war zone. Looking over your shoulder, wondering, do I get a ticket or do I get a bullet? Because you're out riding around, the cops are leaning on you. They're going to pull you over. They're going to interrogate you. They're going to give you a ticket, and it's no fun. All of a sudden, the party was over. I've been for 10 straight years riding my motorcycle around, partying. You know, not worried about anybody pulling up. Now I'm commuting from Ventura to Los Angeles, and I'm on the freeway. I ride in the extreme right lane. I travel about 10, 15 miles an hour over the traffic flow. So anybody pulling up on me has to has to go faster than me. And what do you look for? In the dead of winter, you look for windows down. There's a car pulling up on you, he's got a window down. Something's wrong, man. And these are all the things that go through your mind. You're in a war zone, in a military state of mind, you know. These guys are shooting at us. Is that window down? No, that window's up. Okay, I'm safe. He's not going to shoot through his own window. That car's pacing me, man. What the hell's going on? Okay, I'm gonna pull off here really quick. So you wait till the last minute, bam. I mean, and that's shit we did. We pulled off, got back on the freeway. Uh, you know, you see a cop. In the old days, you'd cringe. You're going to get pulled over in the middle of the night. You see a cop, and you go, "Well, there's nobody out probably hunting me right now." And you hope because you were going faster than the flow of traffic, they didn't cite you. But it was interesting. I found being in the extreme right lane. I don't know if it's a psychological thing with cops or what it is. They don't seem to pick on you as much. And I I traveled usually 80 miles up, 80 miles down, 5, 6 days a week on my motorcycle. And I remember going up to Daly City, and the guys were expecting me up there, but they weren't expecting me on my bike. I was still riding my bike because it was a war zone down there. And it become an everyday activity for me. But these guys were like, "You're still riding your fucking bike, man. Right on, George." And I was like, I'm a hero coming out of the war zone for some R&R, but I rode my bike out of the war zone. You talk about living in a time of war. You have to have a positive attitude, and you have to feel invincible. And maybe in a sense, feeling invincible is already accepting death because it doesn't scare you. It doesn't slow you down. It doesn't stop you from doing the things you know you should do if you're going to be an active member of the Hells Angels and you're committed to this war. Did I like the war? No, I didn't like it at all. But I felt I was a soldier, and I felt that I was going to commit everything to this. Anything John told me to do, when John took back over, like Ray, I didn't like Ray. I didn't like to take orders from him, but it was still a chain of command. But when John took over, anything John told me to do, I did, and I did it gladly. And I I did feel completely invincible. And people ask me, how could you go meet with the outlaws? You went taco. They had you surrounded. I felt invincible. I thought I'm going to go there and I'm going to accomplish this and I'm going to do this. And I would set goals for myself, and I would try to accomplish them any way I could. And sometimes that was putting myself in peril. But I was assigned to go with Ray, and uh, Ray was going through the motions, but he wasn't trying to achieve any goal. And, we were chasing the Mongols down. We went here, we went there. And Ray was trying to take us away from the action, if you will. And we finally found the Mongols. And I wanted to go into the Mongol camp. I said, look, let me out up the road. We found the Mongols. They had 2 men on the gate, 3 men on the gate. I said, let me out up here. I'll come back around. Nobody knew who I was. Nobody knew who I was back then. And I said, I'll walk into the camp by accident, and I'll just, I didn't have no club tattoos. I didn't have anything. I said, I'll act stupid, and I'd probably get maybe get an ass kicking, and they'll tell me to get the fuck out of there. But he wouldn't do it. He didn't want to do anything. And so we waited down the road all night long till the first group of Mongols pulled out in the morning. They woke us up. We were sleeping in the car. First group went by, second, small little groups. We decided to take the group, and they wound up heading north. They were going up to Modesto, or I'm not sure where they were. And we got on the freeway and followed them. I jumped in the back seat. We had a shotgun in the back seat and rolled the window down. And I just laid on my back on the back seat. And Ray was driving. And every time Ray would catch the pack, just when I was ready to pop up, Ray would go off the gas and he'd back way off. And I was getting really frustrated. And then finally, the Mongols figured out what was going on. And, I'm yelling at Ray. I jump up in the back seat. The guy on the very end, the Mongol, sees what's happening, and he runs up and says something to somebody. Ray can't catch them, which I find hard to believe, but he just said, I can't catch them. They all scatter. We chased one that went off a frontage road. We chased him for a long ways, never caught him. So I was kind of losing my patience. I said, let's just fucking go back, man. And we headed back home and saw Mongol on the way, tried to get Ray to stop. I said, let's stop. I'll pretend like I'm going to help him. And Ray wouldn't stop. I said, circle around, let's go back. We're on the Grapevine, going back into Southern California. We got back and went to the Glendale clubhouse. And I told John, I said, I'm never, ever going anywhere with that guy. I don't trust that guy. I said, you know what? We had some opportunities, and he's not committed. I said, I'm not saying anything about him. All I'm saying is he's not committed. And Jesse and I were at the clubhouse, and Jesse never liked Ray, anyways. We were both at the clubhouse in Glendale, and later that afternoon, we got a phone call. The payphone rang. We always have payphones in the clubhouses. I had a payphone in my house, even. And so I pick up the payphone, or somebody picks it up, and they say, turn on the news. And turn on the news, and Dago, Guy, and his crew had killed Jingles and Redbeard, and it was all over the news. Massacre on the highway. I forget what the news at 11 or whatever it was. But I looked at Jesse, and Jesse looked at me, and I go, the shit's on now, man. San Diego was the driving force behind that war. There's no doubt about it, man. San Diego those guys were just brutal down there. And I'm not saying the Los Angeles guys weren't engaged, because they were, but Ray wanted to control the streets, but a lot of it was under the pressure of other Hells Angels. I think he was just being a puppet for a lot of people, personally. Uh, Russell Bea, who was a really Oakland heavyweight, he had been at the Polish Women's Hall in Cleveland, killed a guy there, a member of the Breed Motorcycle Club. There's sketchy records of this stuff. Back then they didn't have computers, and now, people are relating this stuff of what transpired in these things, but at these events. But a lot of it's hearsay. I know there was 100 Breed, and I forget how many Hells Angels. I'm going to say 20 maybe, and they got pushed up against the stage, and they were fighting the Breed there. And Russell Bea was an Oakland Hells Angel. He had been a Satan slave prior to becoming a Hells Angel, and him and I had a special connection because of the Satan slaves. And he had just done 5 or 6 years, and I'm writing about it in my new book. He had just done 5 or 6 years. Him and Moldy Marvin, they beat a guy to death because they got in an argument over the way the guy shook hands. And I mean, the guys were heavyweight dudes. And Russell Bea came back right on the cusp of the war, and Russell Bea had a big drug connection. I think he was trying to get his fingers into Ray, because Ray was expanding to Orange County. You have to understand, there's people in the club. They're in the club for motorcycles and partying. And then there were people that drifted off into the business aspects of being in the club. And it's, I've always said that Hells Angels is not a criminal organization, but it's an organization that has criminals in it. There's no doubt about it. But so is the Senate and Washington and whatnot. I could go on and on. But Russell Bea came back. Russell Bea could see Ray was weak. I think he was the driving force behind a lot of the problems Ray started having with Oakland. Because what happened was Fu Manchu, wound up fighting Ray in a meeting after all this shit was going wrong. Fu was so mad. He goes, "Man, I'm just sick and tired of hearing of all this bullshit down there. I don't understand why you can't get this resolved." And him and Ray had words. And he wound up beating Ray up. Ray comes back. Uh, very His spirits are really low, and he just got his ass kicked by Fu in the Oakland meeting, West Coast officers meeting. Uh, you've got Russell Bea coming in and out of L.A. and Los Angeles, and he's got his sights on Ray's woman. And he comes down there, and Ray gets arrested during that big bust. And this is where we find out Cliff Mallory's an informant. And Ray comes out of jail, and Kim's gone. Russell came and took her, man. It's Russell's woman now. And Russell had a habit of doing this. And I can tell you later, we'll talk about when Russell got shot 9 times up in Oakland for fucking around with somebody's lady. He had a bad habit. Old habits die hard sometimes. And, he wanted Kim. He was lusting after her. And in the midst of all that, Ray gets arrested. Ray comes home. Ray calls John and Jesse on the phone. Ray's still president. They say, go over to the armory and clean it out. They go over to the armory to clean it out. And guess who's waiting for them? The cops. So people started putting 2 and 2 and getting 80. uh, Jesse got busted. John was never out of the car. Jesse went up to check the lock to go into as soon as he put the key in the lock, the cops just swooped him. So you've got John in the car who never leaves the car. So we've got good lawyers even back in those days. So John gets all the charges dropped against him because he never left the car. He has no key. They search. They're trying to find a key to the garage. There's only one key to the garage. Jesse has it. And so the lawyers, immediately they want to get Jesse bailed out. And they're very creative. And the lawyers, Robert Sheehan, one of our lawyers, I've been using him for 40 years, top-notch lawyer. He figures out that the dynamite and everything else has been removed from the garage. So Jesse's entering an empty garage. So, they can't prove anything. So Jesse gets a reasonable bail. We get him out. Ray gets bailed out, which seemed very suspicious to a lot of people. He gets bailed out, comes home, orders people to go to the garage. Ray, a couple of days later, winds up dead. Somebody shoots him in the head several times. And, I go to John, I look at John like, what the fuck's going on? And, John's words to me are, he goes, you want to last in this business, George? You don't ask fucking questions. I just walked away. That was it. But I mean, that's the story of the L.A. war in a nutshell, and that's really not the story of the L.A. war. That's the beginning of it.